August 18th, 2026. We are going to start with Apple. Apple had a 1 hour momentum going to the upside, 15-minute aligned right as the 9:30 window, my trading window, right as that opened. And look where our price comes up to. Our price, first of all, we've got a very tight prior weekly range, open close range. And then look at the previous week's high right here. So the price action skyrockets up, hits that, comes down for a retracement, cooling off period, starts to pick up again, and that's right where that first momentum realignment occurred to the upside. So that was a win on Apple. Palantir. Now this was right before 9:30, which we do call valid. If it's a little bit before the 9:30 window, we call it valid. We can still trade those, and this was a loss. The realignment to the upside occurred at 9:20. 15 going to the upside, 1 hour going strong to the upside. The daily is in the positive region, so that momentum realignment right there would have been it. And it's important to note, I'll be honest, if you go even earlier, like right here, where this realignment occurred, that would have been a win, and that's at 9. That's 30 minutes. That's only 30 minutes after the market opens. And so anyway, but that was a loss. We're calling Palantir a loss because that's a little bit too early for us. We like to stay around the 9:30 mark. The first setup in SPY today happened. Everything going to the downside right here at this current time. And when we had the momentum realignment to the downside, that was a loss. That was at 10:36 for the ES futures or SPY. For Amazon today, we had a bullish setup, but notice the daily is not supporting this. And also it's a bullish setup, but we're below the weekly range. We're below the weekly high or open and close. So taking a bullish trade when that's occurring, that's not really favorable. But either way, this one would have been a loss. This happened at 9:58. That momentum realignment right there. Now, you might be noticing this right here. This is interesting because notice how our momentum is going down right here at this time. But what's happening to the price action? So the momentum is dying off, but look at this big fat green candle that engulfs the prior candle. Okay, so that's just something a discretionary read and price action diverging from momentum data. But anyway, that's another loss, a proper technical loss right there with our strategy. Otherwise, the entry would have been here, but this momentum realignment never occurred. Actually, it did. Look. Yeah, it did. That was a momentum realignment right there. What do you know? What do you know? So that was a momentum alignment, and it was still a loss. So it doesn't change the outcome regardless. But that one was at 9:38. That's a loss. Tesla. I did not miss this trade because of how obvious it was. We were having all of these kind of smaller candles, and then look at this candle right here. Boom. With a realignment. Everything telling us to look for longs. We have that realignment right there. That was a win. That happened at 10:42. If you're wondering, did we have any alignments prior to that? Yeah, technically this one right here. Actually, yeah, that was an alignment, a realignment. We pulled back once, and then we realigned to the upside. But never mind, because the 1 hour had not crossed over yet. See that? We're waiting for the 1 hour to cross over. Waiting for the 1 hour to finish its crossover and print. Okay, now it's confirmed. So this was the one right there at 10:42. That was a win. NVIDIA, going to NVIDIA. Where are we in relation to the previous week? Well, we're below previous week's open and close range. So that's really good. If we have a short opportunity, that's really nice. And look what happens here. At 9:38, our 1 hour is telling us to look for shorts. 15-minute was sort of holding, and it did flip to the downside and sort of holding. And then look, we have a alignment going against us, and now it realigns, flipping the distribution of probabilities to an asymmetrical distribution. That was a win right there. At 9:38, going to Meta, telling us to look for shorts, 9:30 starts here. Right here, 9:30 starts. Now that could have been a nice entry, but the 1 hour hadn't concluded yet. It had not finished its crossover. So we wait, and now that was right at the edge. Honestly, that was a discretionary entry just a little bit early. That was literally 2 minutes early. Man, we need to count that because that was just 2 minutes before the 9:30 window. And it was a nice size candle. I'm going to stick with what I had earlier. The official entry that I marked when you're waiting for the 1 hour momentum to cross over, if you were going to do that, then that happens after that point. So the first realignment that occurs to the downside is here. It aligns to the downside here. Because here we're already going down and the 1 hour hasn't crossed over yet. Now the 1 hour's crossed over. Now we realign away. Now we're out of alignment, and then now we realign right there at 9:42. And at 9:42, that would have resulted in a short loss with a 1-to-1 ratio. NQ hit at 9:34. 15 was telling us to look for shorts. 1 hour telling us to look for shorts. And that momentum realigned right there. And the price action did not come back to hit the stop loss, but it did get close. It definitely got close. And then it continued to run for large R multiple, like 5 to 7R. So let's do let's add them all up and see what we would have finished at had we taken every single trade. Up 1, down back to even. Now we've lost 1. Now we're down -2. Back to -1. Back to even, like nothing ever happened. Back to -1. And back to even, like nothing ever happened. So had you taken every single trade, you would have ended the day like nothing happened. And had you been a little bit more selective, maybe you would have ended the day on a positive note. With all that being said, that was August 18th.